There we go. Okay, I had to hit the microphone unmute button like 4 times. It's another late live stream. I haven't done one of these in a while, actually. It's been like 3 weeks or maybe even a month by now. Um, yeah, so is all my stuff working? I can't tell. Hang on, give me a second here. Yeah, okay. Everything should be all good. Yeah, the last live stream that I did was the Defiance relaunch at like 5 a.m. a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna be kind of trying to be quiet during this stream because when I did the Defiance relaunch, some of my family got angry at me for how loud I was being at 5 in the morning. So, but that was partially because of the fact that it was like I had slept a little bit, so it was like in the morning, so my brain was like cool, awake, like daytime. Whereas whenever I do these late streams, I think I'm just kind of inherently quieter, um, because it is late. But yeah, I wanted to do a stream just because I haven't done one in a couple weeks, and I kind of didn't do any for a while because I didn't really have anything to talk about. But now that a couple weeks have passed, I've got a couple things to talk about. Um, so yeah, and including one interesting fun fact specifically related to Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. So I just started the game up. The air is charged for our electric days. Get behind the wheel of a hybrid or electric car to experience racing at 10,000 volts. It's going to be hair raising. Um, I wasn't even sure if this game had electric cars because I feel like I haven't really seen them. I don't know which cars in this game are electric. Um, but yeah, there's actually more things than I expected to talk about today because I just found out kind of some sad info like right before the. Wait a second, I thought I was playing solo. Why is there another player here? I'm. What? What is going on? Is this actually another player or is this. Oh, hang on, maybe I can. Wait a second, hang on. There's like an interaction menu, right? I can't tell if this is like a Drivatar situation or if this is like an actual another player in the lobby. Because they're moving in a very like AI type way. That was strange. I think I mentioned before, so this game, I don't have PlayStation Plus right now, and you can play this game without PlayStation Plus. You'll just be playing it like solo. Um, and so that's what I've been doing. But I did actually run into like another like a ghost car at one point, and so it's weird because even when you're like disconnected from the internet, sometimes you'll like still run into stuff from other players, which is kind of strange. And I showed on a previous stream how when you go to do a race in the game, it asks if you want to play it solo or multiplayer. And so if you're in the offline mode, like if you don't have PlayStation Plus and you back out of the menu for when it tells you, hey, PlayStation Plus, if you back out of that menu and then you still like play the game, like when you go to join a race, it'll ask multiplayer or solo, and you can still press multiplayer, but it just won't actually ever connect you to anybody. um yeah, this game is set up in kind of weird ways. Anyway, though, as for stuff that I wanted to talk about, so for one, some health updates. So some real life info a little bit. So I mentioned on like over a while actually that my stomach's been kind of upset and stuff, and I decided to finally go and see a doctor again about it because I'd seen my doctor a while ago about it. And she did some blood tests and stuff and wasn't really that concerned, but it still wasn't really going away. And some of the symptoms that I've had with my stomach being upset can be kind of indicative of a handful of things, and like I didn't want to like overdiagnose myself via internet. But one of the things that concerned me was like the various like stomach upset issues that I was having could be anything from like acid reflux to like IBS to like colon cancer. So I was like, I should really probably like go see the doctor again about this. So I did. And so she did some more tests and stuff, and she was telling me pretty much that you know, it's like that I'm actually at a really low risk of anything like super serious because I'm only in my 20s, and also I have literally no family history of colon cancer, which is good. So I've been prescribed for now a medicine that is for, I believe, acid reflux and like intestinal inflammation. And actually it has seemed to be helping quite a bit. My stomach hasn't felt nearly as upset as it originally was, so I think, you know, I hadn't really thought of acid reflux as like a possible cause of how I was feeling, until she like mentioned it to me. And then I looked it up a little bit myself and was like, you know what, a lot of how I've been feeling actually could be explained by acid reflux too. So that's good, but I don't know, I still might end up having to like see a like actual like stomach doctor at some point, just because like I'm still not feeling perfect. That being said, of course, like any medicine can take a while to actually kick in, and I've not actually been like taking anything for a while. So yeah, that's one thing. And then another thing that I haven't really talked about on stream that much, I don't think, but fatigue. Like, I sleep a lot. And that was another thing that I'd mentioned to my doctor, and so she also ran some tests for that, and she was suggesting that I do a sleep study, which could hopefully help diagnose if I have either sleep apnea or narcolepsy. Which I know this is like a lot of like real life info to dump at the beginning of a live stream, but I just figured like might as well update you guys because these are things that I was complaining about before. So I wouldn't really be that surprised if I have sleep apnea because my dad actually had issues with that. And the thing is, well, and I also wouldn't really be that surprised if I had narcolepsy because I think that might run in my family too a little bit. But the thing with sleep apnea is that sleep apnea can actually be brought on by like weight gain. And, you know, I knew that like I had gained some weight over the past couple years, but I hadn't really paid that much attention to it because like when I look at myself in the mirror and stuff, I really don't look that large. Like I have a little bit of a stomach, but then like more recently I had some videos taken of myself. Like there was a thing at my job where they were making a video for a thing, and then another thing where I actually went to a shooting range and my mom took a video of me shooting a gun that I own. And I was like, you know, man, I really have gained kind of a stomach. And when I went to the doctors recently, you know, they weighed me and everything, and I plugged in the info into a BMI calculator, and like different BMI calculators say different things. And of course, like BMI is kind of a little bit of an imperfect measurement, even though it's important. But it can be a little bit weird because, you know, it only counts like weight. It doesn't necessarily count like, you know, muscle to fat ratio or whatever. But long story short, the one BMI calculator that I used, it was like, yeah, you are definitely overweight and actually almost obese. And I was like, yo, what? Like, how am I almost obese? I was like, that's insane to think. And then it made me think though that there's like all the stereotypes about Americans like being really, really big, and I was like, I guess that it's really not that weird for like my weight and height to actually be kind of, you know, on the concerning side. So anyway, I've been trying also to work on losing weight even more now that I found that out, because I think that the whole weight aspect of it is maybe playing more of a role in my health than I was initially. Oh my god, there's a huge dip. That I initially kind of gave it credit for, because I don't know if I've really lost that much weight like yet, but I've cut down a lot on how much I've been eating in general. I've been snacking less. I've been packing myself way smaller lunches than I was for work. I've been drinking a lot less soda. Been doing a lot of that kind of thing. And the thing is, like, already my weight, even though it's kind of higher than it should be, it hasn't really increased that much over the past like year, really. But it also doesn't really decrease. But that had me thinking, you know, if my current like food and activity levels are kind of keeping me stable at this weight, then in reality it actually shouldn't take that much effort for me to lose some weight. Because if I just do more stuff, you know, then it should burn more calories. So I've been trying to just kind of do more things and not like stay inside and sleep. So yeah, I'm working on a lot of that stuff. So that's the real life stuff. Which is I was thinking about what to talk about on stream earlier today, and I was like, yeah, I'll mention that stuff. And now that I've said it, it sounds more depressing than I meant for it to. But you know, the positive is that I'm working on it. And truthfully, like, I'm really not in that bad of health or anything. When I went to the doctor and like I saw the blood results and stuff, like my doctor's office is one of the ones where you can sign up and you can view all your own files and stuff. I'm actually surprisingly normal, at least in terms of blood test results, so that's very good. I was a little bit concerned about like my blood sugar and stuff, but literally everything on there was like average, so that's good. But yeah, anyway, moving on past that, because I don't want to continue talking about like kind of almost sad real life things. So I found out well, this is kind of a sad thing too, but not really like in as serious of a way. But I actually found out really shortly before doing this live stream that Skype shut down today. And I knew that Skype was going to be shutting down. Sorry for the sniffles. Every time I stream, I get sniffles. I knew that Skype was going to be shutting down. I had heard about it, but I didn't realize that it was like today that Skype was shutting down. I wanted to try to do like a last Skype call with somebody, like with my girlfriend or something, but I didn't get around to it. But yeah, Skype has shut down and been pretty much completely replaced by Microsoft Teams, which makes sense, kind of. It's not that surprising. Like, why would Microsoft need two video calling apps? Although, that being said, I've always kind of seen Skype as more of like a personal use video calling app, and Teams is like a business video calling app. But I guess it doesn't really matter when they do the same thing. You know, and like, I saw on Blue Sky before I started the stream, people talking about it, and I feel like a lot of people were kind of memeing about it and joking about it, and it is, you know, it is kind of silly. Like, Skype, it is kind of a silly thing to think that Skype lasted as long as it did. You know, with the advent of Zoom and Teams and various other video chat platforms, but it just had me thinking about how, like, when I was younger, and also when a lot of you guys are probably younger too, Skype was such a big deal for YouTubers. I remember when I used to watch a lot of YouTube videos, any YouTubers that used to do streams on or not streams, but like videos and streams on PC, a lot of the times they would do their voice chat outside of the game, and they would do it in Skype. And then eventually Discord came along and kind of, I think, took that whole market up, which kind of sucks because I really don't like Discord. I don't use Discord at all. So if you ever see somebody on Discord claiming to be me, it is not me. It is almost certainly not me. I have used Discord like 3 times. Like I used to have an account on there, and then I just didn't really like the way the moderation is kind of non-existent on there, and so I stopped using it. I've very rarely ever used Discord since then, only in cases where there's been like info I needed to know about a video game or something that was only available on a Discord channel. I would do one of the like temporary accounts and then just delete it as soon as I figured out whatever I needed to do, but I've done that like 3 times in the past like 5 years, so I have not done that very much. But yeah, so I'm gonna turn the radio off because I don't know if the music in this game is copyrighted or not. I've never got a copyright strike on any streams or anything. But yeah, so back to the Skype thing. Yeah, but I just remember like when I would watch like anybody on YouTube, like Chilled Chaos. I used to watch him quite a bit for a while. Him and like CNanners and like that kind of classic like Gmod like gaming group. A lot of those guys, like, they used to use Skype and stuff to set up their calls outside of like video game chat, especially because a lot of the times they were playing things in Gmod or other Source games, and Source has like weirdly bad voice chat still. But yeah, I just remember that like it was always like Skype was the thing. I even remember like when I was in high school and stuff, like I didn't really have a good gaming computer then, but like I had a computer that could game like enough sometimes, like I could play like Counter-Strike on it, and I remember being in Skype calls with some of my friends from like school and like playing games and stuff. Yeah, it's just kind of it's really weird to think that it shut down. And I really don't know why, like, Skype ended up shutting down, because the thing that gets me with it is that, like, I guess it was like Skype and TeamSpeak were kind of pretty big, like 10, 15, maybe even at this point years ago. I'd say probably closer to like 10 years ago at this point. But I remember, like, those were kind of the main, like, voice chat things that I used to see. And I don't really understand why people moved from them, because Skype was a service that I always thought worked really well. And, like, especially with the pandemic, I really never understood why so many institutions just moved to Zoom. Especially because most people I don't think had ever actually heard of Zoom before. I remember I remember when I was in college, I actually had heard of Zoom before the pandemic because I worked an IT job on campus, and I remember there was like this one subtle mention of it one time where they were like, oh, if we ever have like a professor lecturing from like remote, like there's a screen and we can have them like in the room via Zoom. I think I even asked like what's Zoom, and they're like, that's kind of like Skype. And then yeah, when the pandemic happened though, it was like everybody moved to Zoom. And I don't know, yeah, I just remember there was like a lot of questions where people were like, why not use Skype instead of this? But like, yeah, it's weird because it's one of those things where it wasn't really like a precursor. Like Skype was not like the first to do a thing. Like, it was a pretty household name for a long time, and it just kind of suddenly got overshadowed by all these other programs and stuff. Um, and I just never really understood it. But anyway, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. It does really kind of sadden me though to think that something that was really kind of important to me when I was younger and that I used and that like was important to like a lot of the entertainment that I watched with like YouTubers who used it and stuff, that it is just completely gone now. It just sucks that like it's been replaced by like Discord. Microsoft Teams is okay. I've used that a couple times. Zoom is actually like, as much as I don't really understand why it replaced Skype, Zoom works well for what it does. But yeah, I hate Discord. I really dislike Discord. And that even more so than the fact that Discord kind of replaced Skype for like gaming stuff. I do not understand why Discord has become such a major platform for things. There were so many other chat services before it. Yeah, I know that like Discord is very easy to make a channel on and stuff, and like it's very like kind of low cost, but I don't like it. Anyway, and then another thing that I wanted to talk about on the stream today, I think I might have posted about this on Blue Sky, but I don't entirely remember. But yeah, so I have a friend who I met in grad school who actually lived in Hong Kong for a year, and I asked her about how Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown compares to the real Hong Kong. So, like, jumping back a little bit to explain this whole train of thought a little bit more, I'm getting distracted by, I thought somebody had typed something in chat. I've said before when streaming Test Drive Unlimited, that the roadways in this game are, I think, really strange, which makes it kind of unique, but like, Hong Kong Island is a very urban area, and it feels almost strange to put a racing game here, because when I think of the original Test Drive Unlimited and Test Drive Unlimited 2, both Hawaii and Ibiza, they've got a lot of open road, whereas Hong Kong Island is very kind of closed in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of really tight like corners and small roads and small streets, and I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, I don't understand how this works for a racing game, but there's also a part of me that kind of likes it because it makes it play differently than a lot of other racing games, or at least a lot of other like current racing games. But like, I've never been to Hong Kong, so I didn't really have a true reference point. Like, I had heard that Solar Crown supposedly recreated Hong Kong Island like 1-to-1, but I wasn't really sure, and I wasn't really sure how accurate like the oddity of these roads were. Oh, hang on, I got a text. What am I getting a text about? Oh, from my girlfriend. My beautiful, beautiful girlfriend. She's on vacation right now. And, she's eating some really good food on vacation, let me tell you. She's been sending me some photos and stuff of, like, the food she's been having. I am so jealous. But anyway, so yeah, so like my only point of reference really for Hong Kong's road system is the UK road system, because I lived there for a year, and they drive on the left-hand side of the road also, and Hong Kong was under British rule for a long time, and so I was like, the road system of Hong Kong is probably pretty, heavily inspired by the way British roads work. And having some firsthand experience of British roads, not so much driving on them, but being on buses and stuff on them, British roads are absurd compared to American roads. Like, in cities, American roads can get confusing and stuff sometimes, but like it's all grid based usually. It's not that weird, but like in the UK, roads get weird, man. Like roads get really weird. And so in Hong Kong, like at least in Solar Crown's version of Hong Kong Island, I was like, the roads feel weird. And like, I wonder how true to life that really is. And so, like I said, one of my friends that I met when I was in grad school, she lived in Hong Kong for a little while, and I'm not gonna like dox her because I don't even think she knows I have a YouTube channel, so I don't want to give out like too much of her information. But she lived in Hong Kong for a while, and so I messaged her and I said, "Hey, this is a weird question, but are the roads in Hong Kong really strange? Because I've been playing a video game where the roads in Hong Kong are very strange." And she confirmed to me that yes, the roads in Hong Kong are in fact really strange. And she explained a little bit too, because she was saying that Hong Kong is such a small amount of space that rather than building outwards in a lot of places, Hong Kong kind of has to build upwards, which is something that I feel like I've seen in a lot of like videos about Hong Kong and stuff. That like there's a lot of really tall buildings and stuff, and there's like all sorts of reasons for this. There's limited space. I think there's a lot of like regulations and stuff that are specific about what like land use can be for and things like that. But so yeah, she actually even sent me a picture too that was like the view from where she used to live in Hong Kong, and it was like she was just saying how like you can be in an apartment and you're up however many stories, and you look out your window and there's like a road because there's a highway built right in front of your window. So yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting. Because I feel like that is, like, she mostly told me about the verticality of Hong Kong roads, but I feel like that is also something that is kind of represented in Solar Crown. There is like that main highway that kind of goes around the map, that is sort of up in the air pretty high. But yeah, so that was just a little interesting tidbit of info that I thought would be fun to mention. Was just that I talked to somebody who actually lived here, and they confirmed my suspicions about Hong Kong's roads being a little bit strange. So that was kind of it's cool to know people from around the world. That was by far like one of the coolest things about when I went to grad school was like I met a lot of people from all over the world when I was there. And it was really, really cool to just learn about like different places, and also now to like have friends that are scattered all about, or that like even if they're still in the UK, like that like they grew up in a different place, so I can ask them things about where they grew up. It's been really like it's a really interesting thing to learn about the world, especially because like I don't know, I don't I don't dislike living in the US, but one thing that I don't like about living in the US sometimes is how very, very America-centric all of our media is. And so I feel like there's very basic portrayals of a lot of other countries in American media, and they're not really nuanced enough. And there's a lot that you can learn about other countries, and I think some people would be surprised by just how similar to us some other countries are. Like in fact, actually, My girlfriend is on vacation right now, like I said, and I'm not gonna tell you guys where she's on vacation, but she's on vacation in a country that, like, you know, English is not an official language there or anything. It's like portrayed often as quite different than the U.S. But she sent me a picture yesterday, or well, she was actually video calling me yesterday, and she was you know, in this area in this other country, and it literally looked like the U.S. I was like, you could have sent me a picture from there right now, and I would have sworn that you were in the U.S. because it was like she was near some restaurants, and there was literally like a Sparrow, a Burger King, and a Popeyes, and I was like, you literally look like you are down the street from me. Like, that is insane that you are across the world right now. Um, but yeah, that's been some stuff that's been up. Um, yeah. Otherwise, I mean, it's been kind of nice though that overall though, despite like, you know, having a little bit to talk about during the stream today, that my life has been pretty chill for the past couple weeks. You know, the last time I did a stream before the Defiance one, the one that I did before that, I think was the one where I talked about how like we had insane weather and like my work schedule was weird and stuff for a little while. Um, yeah, that was a crazy like 2 or 3 weeks back to back to back. Um, so yeah, even though it's kind of sucked that it's been a little bit boring, like it's also been really nice that it's been a little bit boring. Um, I've also been in the meantime, while I haven't streamed over the past couple of weeks, I've been working on some various other things. I've been in terms of YouTube channel stuff, I've uploaded 2 more Waddle Forever tutorials, and I've got a third Waddle Forever video recorded that I just need to edit and upload. And I've got some other videos that I want to make, but I just haven't yet. But I wanted to. That was part of why I didn't stream for a couple weeks, and why I'm also probably gonna like take a couple more weeks from streaming after this too. Is because I wanted to work on some actual dang videos. I hadn't made a video in like forever, so made those, and I've got this big list of videos that I want to make. So I don't know. It's been kind of hard for me to find time to make like more complicated videos, but more tutorials on things related to Club Penguin stuff will probably be on the way. Because usually I can like record and edit those sometimes in like a single day, but usually in like 2 days at the most. So that's not too bad. Been working on that. I still also have the whole thing. I still haven't really ever mentioned what it is, but the other like Club Penguin related project that I've been, it's been taking me longer than I wanted to. I haven't really been able to work on it a lot lately, but slowly it's getting worked on, so that's, you know, good kind of. So I've been doing that. Well, I actually haven't really been doing that, but I'm hoping to work on that more. And then outside of like YouTube and social media projects and stuff, I've been just catching up on some other things. One thing that I've been trying to do is I've still been trying to save up some money, and so one of the things that I've been doing to try to kind of focus myself with money is I've been trying to I refound some lists from a while ago of like games and movies and stuff that I wanted to buy. And I was like, you know what? This actually could help me control some spending a little bit if I specifically only buy things that are on these lists that I made. Like if I don't let myself get distracted by other things, and I just exclusively work on completing these collections. So I've been doing that, which has been kind of fun because I've like found some games and stuff that I've been looking for a while, or like that I forgot that I even wanted. Bought a ton of PS3 games the other day for really cheap that were ones that were on my list, because there was a handful on there that were not even like expensive or rare games. So I got some of those. There's actually a bunch of manga volumes that like I collected some of them, but then I was missing some, so I've been working on also finishing out some of those collections, and some TV show collections as well. So I've been doing that. I've also still been reading Julian Comstock. I mentioned that in quite a few streams. friggin' long book. Really good book. I like it a lot, but long book. I'm about halfway through it now, so I still got quite a bit to go. Something that I've noticed about it though as I've been reading, and this isn't gonna really be a spoiler, I hope, but so the book takes place in the 22nd century, but it's one of these like regressive 22nd centuries. I think it's 22nd century. Where like the world has kind of regressed to like an 1800s ish level of technology and society. Um, and so that's that's something that I've been noticing as I've been reading the book though, is just that like I don't really understand like sometimes I don't understand why the book takes place in the 22nd century because the author hasn't really mentioned it that much. Um, Robert Wilson, yes, that's his name. I can see the book from here. Um, there's a lot of scenes in the book where like it's it feels like I'm just reading like a somewhat sci-fi version of the 1800s, and maybe later in the book it will kind of explain more about like how society regressed, but at least at the point where I'm at, like halfway through the book, there's a lot of scenarios where I kind of don't understand why it takes place in the 22nd century. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's part of what's supposed to make you think with that book, is that like maybe it's not supposed to really have a reason. Maybe it's just supposed to be that's just the way it is. But I don't know. I do hope that as I continue reading it, that it explains a little bit more about that, because sometimes as I'm reading it, I do just kind of wonder like what was the point of setting this in this time period rather than just setting it in the 1800s. Um, but so I've been reading that. I've also been watching another anime series. I've been watching Jormungand. Not exactly sure how to pronounce it. Jormungand. Jormungand. I actually kind of just wandered across it and thought the cover looked cool, and then like the concept sounded interesting. I didn't realize until after buying that I believe some of the people who worked on Black Lagoon also worked on Jormungand, which is kind of interesting, and you can kind of tell. But yeah, the basic concept of Jormungand is that it follows. Well, it supposedly follows Jonah, who's a child soldier, or like former child soldier, who's working for an arms dealer as a bodyguard. A lot of the episodes, though, don't always focus super closely on Jonah, which is kind of nice, actually. I'm kind of glad that it's not ultra focused on just one character. But yeah, that's the basic concept of it. And I've heard a lot of people compare it to Black Lagoon, and often not favorably, but I kind of like it almost a little more than the Black Lagoon anime, just because, like, I felt like the Black Lagoon anime had, like, it felt like it was almost trying too much sometimes to, like, give a lesson about the world or whatever, or, like, be kind of edgy and stuff, whereas Jormungand just has, there's a lot of, like, explosions and action and stuff, and there are times where it's supposed to kind of be like, oh, the world is dark and scary, but, like, it doesn't really feel like it's trying to make you think that much, which is kind of nice. Yeah, I have been also reading, though, the manga of Black Lagoon, because I found out that there are a lot more chapters than just what is shown in the anime. Because, I don't know, the thing that got me about the anime adaptation of Black Lagoon is just the fact that, like, most of the storylines boil down to, like, oh man, look at this screwed up life that this child has. Like, look at this child that's forced into, like, gang wars. It's like, okay, like, I get it. This is the third time you've told this story. Like, I much preferred the chapters of the Black Lagoon anime where they, like, fought like neo-Nazis, and like where they like there was like the chapter where there was like the hacker lady that they had to rescue and stuff. Like, I like those episodes of Black Lagoon better. But yeah, the manga seems to have a wider variety of material, which is nice. And there's a lot of it. I did not realize that it's like still ongoing, but yeah, there's 13 volumes currently of the manga, and that's just the main manga. There's also been 2 spin-offs. There's been one about Sawyer the Cleaner and one about Ida from the church. So that's kind of interesting. But both of those spin-offs, I believe, are only in Japanese. But honestly, it's so easy to translate stuff now with like just like a phone camera app. That I've been on the lookout to possibly buy those as well, because I feel like it would be not that challenging to read them still. But we'll see. So yeah, my point though, with that whole thing was, with Jormungand, I have almost finished watching it. I watched the whole first season of it, and then I'm on the second season now, which is the last season, Jormungand Perfect Order, and I think there's only like 4 episodes left or so. The first Blu-ray of the second season of Jormungand has like a ton of episodes on it. I was kind of surprised. There's like 3 hours straight of like anime on there. And I mean, like, you can fit a lot on a Blu-ray, but I feel like the other discs in that collection have not had as many episodes. So anyway, though, I've been watching that. I'm interested to see the ending of it, because I have not had the ending of it spoiled for me, but it does sound pretty interesting from what I've kind of, like, you know, had hinted from things I've read online and stuff. So that's cool. I don't really know what else I'll watch. I've been just trying to, like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm trying to save money. Maybe instead of buying new DVDs and video games and stuff, I should play and watch one of the, like, 500 that I have. So yeah, I've been trying to finish collections and then also, like, watch stuff that I've already collected and play stuff that I've already collected and stuff. I finally played through Siren Blood Curse also. I made a whole thread about it on Blue Sky. Yeah, that was an interesting experience. I've told the story before about how, like, I have kind of a weird history with that. Well, not even a weird history, but just like a long history with that game before even playing it. But the abridged version is that when I was younger, PlayStation Home had a Siren Blood Curse room, and I thought that was just like the scariest thing ever when I was a kid, and so it stuck with me. And but the game itself never got released physically in the US, so I never bought it. You know, I thought, like, someday maybe I would buy it on eBay, buy like an imported copy, and I never got around to it. Then I went to grad school in England, and I kept seeing it for sale there in CEX and stuff, but then I never had the money for it. And then I went back to the UK to visit my girlfriend, and I ordered it online, but then it didn't arrive until after I had left, so then she held on to it for me for a while. And then, but then shipping stuff to the US from the UK is expensive, so she held on to it for me for a while, and then my birthday rolled around, and so she was going to send me some stuff for my birthday, and she included it in that package, and then I finally got it, and then it still took me like another week or 2 to actually play it, and find time to play it, and then I finally played it. Not a particularly long game. I finished that in like 1 weekend. I think it's probably been done before, but I feel like you could speedrun Siren Blood Curse in a really short amount of time. That game is actually, like, really short. Most of the chapters in Siren Blood Curse can legit be finished in, like, under 5 minutes, especially if you know where to go. I mean, albeit I played that game on easy just because I didn't really want to deal with, like, getting horror game difficulty frustrated. Yeah, I sped through that game in most of the chapters. There were a couple chapters that took like 15 or 20 minutes, but a lot of the time that was just because I didn't know what to do, so I had to, like, Google it. Because there are, later in the game, there's like 3 or 4 chapters that are really obtuse that you'll probably need a guide for. But yeah, I was shocked with how fast I was actually able to finish that game for it being kind of a cult classic horror game. I liked it, but I don't think I want to play it again anytime soon. It kind of like dug into my soul a little bit, because, like, the way I described it to my girlfriend, because I was telling her that I had played it finally, the thing with, like, a lot of horror things, a lot of horror games and horror movies and stuff like that, there's usually some sort of reprieve within them from the horror. There's usually a scene where, like, the character goes into town and, like, talks to somebody, or, like, there's, like, a new, like, hero that arrives and, like, saves everybody, or, like, there's just some sort of break from the scariness in a lot of horror things. Like, in Alan Wake, for example, the original Alan Wake, or, well, Alan Wake 2 even works for this, because Alan Wake 2 is more of a straight-up horror game. There's daylight scenes, you know. Most of the in like Deadly Premonition naturally is another great example of this. Like, there's in all three of those games, a lot of the horror of it takes place at night, and like in the dark and in interiors, whereas like during the day in those games, the vibe is entirely different. Like Deadly Premonition in particular does a really good job, I felt, with like separating the scary from like the fun, and the funny, and so like there's reprieves from the scary. Actually, Deadly Premonition, like, honestly, is like more of like a detective game than a scary game when you really think about it, even though it's often classified as horror. But yeah, so my point is, there's usually like points that give you a break from being scared. Hang on, I have to cough. I said too many words in a short amount of time. My throat got all dry. Oh, also, I played this game a little bit since the last stream, and I finally got myself a Hellcat. I don't think I had that in the last stream. I don't really remember. Anyway, though, Siren Blood Curse is not like that at all. The characters in Siren Blood Curse are screwed. They do not get help. They cannot help themselves. Like, I mean, that's kind of part of the reason I think why it's such a, well, not renowned, but cult classic horror game, is because it's kind of unique in that fact, that it is pure dread. Like, there is no happiness in the world of Siren Blood Curse. And even though it might not necessarily be the scariest game ever in terms of jump scares and stuff, playing that game, like, especially in a short amount of time like I did, where I played almost the entire thing kind of in one sitting, like I played it over like 2 or 3 days, it can kind of be a lot mentally. It can be kind of draining a little bit. And yeah, that was an experience that I don't know if I was necessarily prepared for. I feel like I'm maybe making it sound deeper than it really is, but yeah, so just be warned, if you play Siren Blood Curse, do not let the short chapters fool you. Maybe take it like, you know, an episode a day. Like, you probably don't want to play Siren Blood Curse all in like one sitting like I did. Sorry, I thought I noticed like a scratch on my controller, but now we're all good. With racing games, I re-downloaded, or well, reinstalled the Crew Motorfest also, because I had heard that there was the update where they added a new island. They added Maui, and I was curious to see it, so I reinstalled it, took a little look at that. That was cool, although I do really hope that they make some more playlists on Maui, because right now I think there's only like 1 or 2 that takes place there. So it feels kind of empty right now, but it is cool that it's really cool they added like an entire another island for free. I'm curious to see what the crew does next, in terms of like the next game and stuff, just because I feel like they set themselves some pretty high expectations with the first game being like the whole continental US and everything. So we'll see. I'm curious to see if the next game maybe sticks to a smaller map again, like Japan or something like that, especially because Crew Motorfest has a lot of stuff regarding Japan in it already. There's like already like 2 playlists that are all about Japanese cars and Japanese like culture too a little bit, so kind of wonder if that might be the next setting, especially too because I know people have said for a long time that like they want a Forza Horizon that takes place in Japan. And I wouldn't be surprised if like the Crew Motorfest sort of tries to beat them to it. Or well, not even necessarily Crew Motorfest, but just the crew. God, the crew has had such a weird shift in theme though from the first game to Motorfest. that's actually a video idea I have that I want to make that I've talked about before a little bit. But just how the original crew, like, the original crew has a darker, like, more outlaw story than the Crew 2 and the Crew Motorfest, because the Crew 2 and the Crew Motorfest are, like, sports games more so than, like street racing games, whereas the original Crew is, like, a street racing game, like, through and through. And yeah, I just, I feel that that's an interesting topic. I mean, like, there's characters who literally get murdered in the original Crew. Yeah, it's insane actually, because I did that like kind of semi playthrough thing before the original Crew shut down, and dude, I remember when I was doing that, it was like I was like, this is absurd for you know, what the Crew's kind of shifted to eventually. But yeah. Anyway, I think after this next race, I'm probably gonna go ahead and end the stream because I am quite tired. Yeah, just kind of want to go to bed. But I hope you guys have all had a nice couple weeks since the last time I streamed. Speaking of the last stream, the stuff with Defiance, so I have played Defiance a little bit since I did that stream. Not a ton though, because it's on my iMac, and my iMac is not really a thing that I have set up like consistently. Like whenever I want to play games on it, I kind of have to dig it out, and like hook up mouse and keyboard to it and everything, so it's not like always the easiest for me to play stuff on there, but I have played a little bit of Defiance on there since launch day, and the connection definitely is better. It's easier to join the game now and stuff, and it's not like as laggy and desynchronized or anything. I'm glad it's back. I'm really glad it's back. So yeah, I mean, realistically, I don't know how long Defiance will survive for, but you know, I'm glad to at least have been able to play it again. It's one of those things where it's like, it's one of those things where it was gone, and it seemed like it was gone forever, and like there were times where all I wanted to do was just play some Defiance, and I'm glad that I have that opportunity now again. And like, if Defiance does shut down again, and it is like a permanent shutdown, I'll just be happy that like I got that opportunity to play it again. So yeah, I do want to play it more though, and like, I usually don't really spend money on free-to-play games, but I might like throw a couple dollars into it at some point, just because I do want to like genuinely support it. It's one of those things where like, I know Defiance is a good game. Like, I played it a ton, the original version, and I want it to be around, so yeah. Sorry, man, I don't know why my nose always gets stuffed every time I stream. As for new games and stuff, I actually bought Atomfall. I don't really, I mean, I still don't really even know that much about Atomfall because I've only played about like 20 minutes of it. But I remembered hearing about it, and it seemed like an interesting concept, because I heard some people compare it to Stalker, which I haven't really played that much of, even though I own a couple Stalker games. But I also heard some people compare it to Fallout, and as I played through a little bit of it, I kind of definitely see the Fallout comparisons, which is cool. And it takes place in England, which is nice, and in particular it takes place in northern England, which is like where I was in England. So that's kind of cool. I don't think any of the locations in it are like real locations. Well, okay, the Lake District like is a real location, but I don't think like the towns that it has within its virtual version of the Lake District are real. But it is kind of cool to just see like a territory that I'm familiar with. yeah, like when I look back on it, kind of, there's really not that many video games that take place in areas that I've lived in, which kind of sucks actually. But there's a few. But like Fallout 76, even though it takes place like Appalachia. It's arguable if it's the South or not, because like I don't know. Some people do consider it South, some people don't. Like there is a lot of because I live in the South. I don't live in Appalachia, but like you know, there's aspects of Appalachia that are kind of southern throughout, and so that's kind of cool to see. Yeah, I kind of forgot what I was talking about, but anyway, yeah, Adamfall seems fun. I haven't played it much, but I'm enjoying it so far, the little bit of it that I have played. So I think that's going to be the next game that I try to finish. Don't think it takes that long either. I've read online that it's like 10 hours or so, which probably would be even shorter for me, because I tend to play through games pretty fast actually. I'm not that good at games, but I'm pretty good at games. I mean, this has been my main hobby for like however many years. But anyway, my dog is now my mom's dog is now barking at nothing. So I think that's a good sign for me to go ahead and end the stream, so that way the VOD of it isn't full of loud dog barking. So thank you guys for watching. If you watch the archived version of it, let me know why, because I know that these keep getting pretty good views whenever I do streams. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys